Coming off of 2017 Worlds, when I won the World Championship, I could not for the life of me bend over. I couldn't even tie my shoe. I had just this shooting pain down the back of my leg. I didn't know what had happened. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it was not a disc issue, but because of the way that sciatic nerve runs through my glute muscle and the hip, it can always just kind of flare up if this gets too tight or stress, whatever. If you are a competitor, a lot of times doctors will tell you don't deadlift anymore, but if you want to get back to the competitive lift, you need to find a way to regress it. Today, I'm going to show you some of the warm-ups that I do before I start lifting, some conventional block pulls, dumbbell incline, dumbbell pullovers, bicep curls. I'm doing a bridge block. If you've been following my YouTube channel, I was doing power building. Once I finished that block and I got through like a strength block with that, I'm now switching over to a bridge block just to give my body a little bit of a break. Since I do not compete, I don't generally do peaking anymore, so I kind of just readjust my program after I get through kind of like a 3 to 5 rep range in a strength block. So let's get started. Warm-ups. Yes, you can warm up with just the bar. I have done that in the past. I do like to do warm-ups that are non-specific to the lift, mainly because I've dealt with some injuries. These don't take that long. You can also do them mixed in while you're warming up with the bar. You can toss in one of these warm-ups if you want to save time, but I highly recommend doing these, especially if you've dealt with any type of injury. Myself, I've dealt with piriformis syndrome as well as sciatica, so I like to make sure that I'm doing some warm-ups that put me into flexion because I tend to be in extension this way, so I like to do things that are going to like emphasize rounding over. If you've watched my videos, you know that I talk about that a lot. So here are the warm-ups that I do before I get started with just the bar. Normally when you deadlift, you want to be in very flat shoes, wrestling shoes, Chuck Taylors, any type of flat shoe. Barefoot, if you're in a commercial gym, they might not allow you to be barefoot, but the reason being it's going to allow you to have that full foot pressure into the floor. Coming off of 2017 Worlds, it's when I won the World Championship, I could not for the life of me bend over. I couldn't even tie my shoe. I had just this shooting pain down the back of my leg. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't feel anything pop when I did that last deadlift. The only thing I can think of is we were in Belarus and we left immediately after getting there. We had a long flight, then had to sit down for 8 hours in a train to get to Spain. So it was just a lot of like sitting in this position and just everything just locked up. I haven't been right since. So I've had like these bouts where it like kind of comes and goes. And I really do try to make sure that I do all of like the prehab stuff to keep it in check. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it was not a disc issue, but because of the way that sciatic nerve runs through my glute muscle and the hip, it can always just kind of flare up if this gets too tight or stress, whatever. If you are a competitor, a lot of times doctors will tell you don't deadlift anymore, just do things that are gonna like make it feel good. But if you wanna get back to the competitive lift, you need to find a way to regress it. And if that means that you pull off of blocks, which is what I did, so coming off of 2017 Worlds, all I did was pull off of blocks. I had to get ready to compete at nationals to re-qualify for the Worlds the following year. So that entire training block, I just pulled from blocks. And as we got closer to the meet, we just lowered to the floor. And I want to say like, I didn't pull from the floor until like maybe one deadlift right in the peaking block before nationals, and was still able to pull a decent amount and win nationals that year. So make sure that you regress the movement. Don't get it into your head that you can't do the same lift. If it's squat, bench, still do the movement, just find a way to regress it. The way you regress it is you want to make sure that you have it set at a height where you're not feeling pain, because we don't want to like keep that pain happening. So you want to set it, if that means like you're pulling blocks from here and then you lower it each week and the block gets lower, that's fine. But you want to make sure that you're not reintroducing the pain. So you elevate it high enough so that it's not painful. Pro tip, just to prevent your bar from like rolling away, I just use my sleeves and I put one in front, one behind, or whichever way your garage is tilted, and that'll just kind of prevent it from falling over, because there's nothing more annoying than your bar just going all over the place. A couple key technique points that what this lift is intended to drill in if you're not rehabbing is to initiate a quick lockout. So when you get set into your position, you pull the slack. You already want to be initiating that lockout the moment that you pull, because the bar is right below the knee, that's how we cue. Start locking out when the bar is below the knee so that you can bring those hips to the bar faster. When you're elevated off the block, that just needs to happen as soon as I pull, hips come forward. I'll still, as I'm warming up, just do a single before my working sets. So my working sets are 120 kilos. I'm gonna just do a single with this 100 kilos here, not because I'm gonna be overly fatigued by doing more than that, but you just need to do enough to feel warm so that you can properly do and execute your working sets. The bridge block is a total rep count with timed rest periods. You can do 6 reps because it's 3 minimum, 6 maximum. I could do 6 here, I could do 3 here. What you want to avoid is technique breakdown. So we want each rep to look the same. Once I feel my technique breaking down, I'm just gonna stop, cue the timer, and then start the next set. So it doesn't matter that you do 6 every time or 3 every time. You want to make sure each rep is exactly the same. And that is the whole point of the bridge block, is to increase work capacity. That's why we have the timed rest periods, but to also ensure that we are drilling in really good, clean, and crisp technique. So once you feel your technique break down, rack it, set it down, set the timer, and then start again. The next thing I have is dumbbell incline press. Typically I'm in a space where I have an incline bench. If you have access to some stuff, you can kind of just make it work the best way that you can. My working weight is 45 pounds with this today. Because this is like my first chest exercise, I'm gonna go ahead and warm up to those working sets. Okay, so the next thing I have is dumbbell pullovers, and you always get a lot of, is it a back exercise? Is it a chest exercise? I have never felt these in my chest. I don't care how I angle my elbows or angle it this way. I've always felt it in my lats. For me, I say it's a back exercise. You probably will have people arguing with me in the comments about this, but I've just never felt it there. I try to get like that full stretch, filling it in the lats as I go back, keeping my arms straight, and then just coming and stopping kind of short of right here. And yes, of course, at this point, if you're like really squeezing your chest, you're gonna feel it there. But I just don't find it an effective chest movement as I would like a dumbbell pressing exercise or something like that. You can do it laying across the bench, or you can be perpendicular to the bench. I like to be perpendicular to the bench, and one of the reasons is because I'm short. My head is gonna be pretty much off of the bench. I'm gonna hold the dumbbell with my hands like this. And this setup allows me to kind of turn this way, grab the dumbbell, and then roll back right into position. Set my hips. You will also see 2 different methods when people do it this way, is they'll drop their hips back down while they go back, and then bring them back up. For some people, that allows for a bigger lat stretch. I don't like it that way because it puts my back into a little bit too much of extension, which I'm trying to avoid. I like to come up, squeeze my glutes, and then reach way back. Try to go as far back as my mobility will allow. Come back to the top. Okay, last exercise, barbell curls. I'm using my women's Olympic weightlifting bar. I just happened to have one when I did my little stint of Olympic weightlifting for like 4 weeks and I sucked at it. With these, I like to make sure I'm getting up high and then just controlling it on the way down. Thank you guys so much for watching. I would really love to know what you guys want to see next. Any tips or tricks. If you want to see me in the kitchen, let me know in the comments so we can make that happen. Make sure that you subscribe to the app, juggernautai.app. You get 2 weeks free. You get to join an amazing community. I am in there answering questions. Chad is also in there answering questions to the group. It's an amazing group that we have in the Facebook, so make sure that you check that out. Until next time.